I have a head start on a lot of folks in that I nearly died back in '69 from a bacteria that I contacted, and I got out of my body for a short while and out there, and so I have an edge in that I know that we do live outside the body, and there is a world to deal with after we leave the body, and that's basically, if I had to do anything on your program or anything else from now until the time I die that was very important, it would be to say, people, you do live after you die out of this body. It is most important that you come to grips with how you're going to deal with that, the pros and cons of it. Investigate that and get to the bottom of it urgently, because I think you haven't got very much time left.
Could we ask you about that experience? Exactly what did you experience?
Well, when I started to leave the body, I was in a great deal of pain. I was laying in a bed, and they had given me some acromycin-4, which is an antibiotic at the time as an experiment. Mm-hmm. And I hurt so badly that I was moving my body to positions, actually were semi like on a cross type thing, to get to where I didn't hurt so much. And as I was concentrating on this, I noticed that the sound in the room and in outside the building turned down like a volume knob, and I couldn't hear anymore. And I thought, this is novel, and I became distracted from the pain by trying to figure out why I couldn't hear. And then I noticed I was getting tunnel vision, and the darkness was closing in around me, and the only light I could see was right up in front of me toward the ceiling, and it was getting into a small circle, and then a circle, and then it was blackness. And I couldn't hear, and I couldn't see. And I certainly wasn't aware of the pain at that point. And I was intrigued by the whole process because I seemed to be completely aware but not sensing in those areas. And I rolled out of my body, overlooking at my navel, and then as though there were a slow-motion drop of water falling toward my navel, as it would have about hit my navel, I bounced right out of my body and straight through the roof. But when I went through the roof, it wasn't like seeing, what was there normally, like, trees and people around and that kind of stuff. It was into a smooth, silky body temperature blackness at great speed, moving away from the earth, and I saw my entire life, major events playing off to the side, my right side, in little theaterettes, and I would see myself dealing with people and how I hurt them or how they hurt me, and I would go back into their lives before that event or after that event, and before it was through, I understood everything that had happened to me and everything I'd done to other people, the pros and cons of it. My mind expanded. The intelligence or the ability to think was incredible. Imagine watching 60 television sets at once and understanding every one of the plots and being kind of ho-hum about it. That's how incredible it was. Then, as I moved toward the light out there, which was out ahead of me, way out there at great speed, I felt very calm and very peaceful, nothing like you'd have here on Earth. And I noticed that parts of my body seemed to be washing out. There was an invisible fluid I could feel that I was moving through, and it seemed to wash out chunks of my body, like I was made out of very fine wire mesh or something. And I would look behind me, back toward my body, down below, and I would see puffs of like dust or mud flow out of my body. When it did, a negative emotion would leave me, like hate or greed or these kind of things, envy. And I would feel those go. And by the time I was through being washed by this fluid, I was like a judge of myself, sitting there thinking, wow, I understand all of this now. And I curled up to relax for the final trip into the great light out there, and then something caught me like a rope on my right side, and it spun me around, and it for the first time since I was out there, I felt panic, because I didn't want to go back to the body. I was great where I was. And I couldn't hold on, and I realized that there was some kind of a rope-type thing onto my right ear, connected to my body, so it was pulling me back. So I thought, well, I'll fall back into the body and somehow cut that rope, and I'll get back out here. Mm-hmm. So I relaxed and fell into my body, and it was an interesting experience. I didn't feel a thud or anything. I just kind of eased halfway into it with my right arm and my right leg and tried to grab this rope around my ear, and it turned out to be not a rope, but a phone by the bed ringing and ringing and ringing. And it was my mother, and I didn't know that. But anyway, it kept ringing, and I couldn't stop that phone, but I knew if I could knock it off, it would break the tie, and I could get back out there. So I held on to a ledge I could feel in the other world with my left leg in my hand. I was actually hanging in there while my right hand and my right leg were in my physical body, trying to move that phone off the hook. And it was like taking a leg of ham and holding it by the end bone and trying to move that accurately at a target, because my body was like dead meat. Anyway, I got the phone off, knocked it off on the bed, and I heard my mother's voice saying, Stan, are you okay? And And I said, I'm fine, and trying to concentrate and hold on to the other world. And then she says, there's something wrong. You've passed before me like your grandfather did when he died. I saw you walk before me. And she was 30 miles away, right? So I said, no, you're wrong. I'm fine. I'm fine. And at some time in that conversation right there, my left leg and left arm fell out of that link I had into the other world, and I was back in my body. And I couldn't get back. Now, almost within 2 days of that, I was totally well and healed of whatever it was that was making me so ill.
Stan, hold on. That is one of the most incredible, absolutely incredible, graphically interesting NDE experiences I have ever heard.